Hey campers, George here, back in the man cave. Remember this guy? Here he is here. Cotton sampler. The last mod I did on an Opinel. It needs a sheath. Let's check it out. So I'm going to make another sheath for my cotton sampler. You've seen the way I make my sheaths for the Opinel, which is what I'm going to do now, but I want to do something a little different to show how I do it. One of the things I want to do is use a different stitch. It's going to be a dangler, just so that you know. So here's my Opie, and I've got here a little key ring holder. This is what I use for my danglers on the Opinel. Here's the leather. Now this leather is the thickest leather I have, and I really like it. It's the right thickness for this kind of duty, if you want to call it. You can see it there. I've already decided what color I'm going to make the leather. This one here, which is the British tan, I kind of like that color. Kind of old school leather. My plan is to cut out the size of leather I need, put this dye on, let that dry, and then work with it. I want to see if it makes a difference on how easy it is to deal with the leather. I made myself a cheat sheet over here. Here you can see it there. And it's the basic dimensions, but for a number 10 Opinel. If you see, if I put the Opinel in, it's a little bit too long. I'm going to use this size as my basic cutout. I need the dangler piece and the strap for the belt loop. Now I just use my little awl here to mark it to 5. The nice thing about leather is you can mark it as long as you don't do it too deep. It fixes itself. The mark goes away. I do have different knives for cutting. This one I like the best. This actually came with my first leather kit that I bought. It's just an X-Acto knife. I just put a little leather handle on it just to give me better grip. Here's a useful tip. You see my ruler here? This is just a stainless steel ruler that I bought at the hardware store, but on the back it has this cork layer. Really handy. It stops the ruler when you're trying to cut from slipping. Gives it a bit of grip. Let's just check the sizing quickly. And you can see I have plenty of leather. You got to remember that leather stretches, so when you cut it to size, you want to cut it a little short so it's actually tight, so that when you stitch it, you pull it together. Over time it will stretch. So here I have the two pieces I need. Is on the belt loop. I do my belt loop like that. And now I'm just going to stain it, let it dry, and then we'll start cutting it up and putting it together. When you buy these, they actually come with a little brush, which I used to think that you threw away, but if you keep it with the same bottle that you got it with, it stays just fine. And all I do is just spread it on. You can be generous with it, and if you watch how it gets soaked up so quickly by the leather. Most of the stuff I got on Amazon. I'll put links to all this stuff in the description below. Now I'm just going to let that dry. So you can see the leather is dyed. Made my strap a little bit thinner. The reason being is my dangler has to fit it. It's got to go on like that. I'm going to use my other number 9 because I just touched up the handle on the cotton sampler and it's still wet. So I'm going to use this one. Now you can see if I was to sew those two ends together, it's too loose. And I want to go to the thickest part, which is the middle of the handle there. Look how much excess I have there. So I need to get rid of that because the leather will stretch later. I never throw this stuff away because you never know when you might need it. Now you can see how tight it is there. Now I have to mark out where I want the stitching to go. And I want to come in a little bit on each side here and put a line down and then punch my holes for the stitching. But I got to shape everything first. Can you see these two lines? Let me see if you can see them there. This one here is where the end of the Opinel is. This here will be the fold over. Now I have to mark in here for my stitch line. I'm going to run a line down here. And I have a stitch line now. Same on the other side. So now I have my stitch line here and be stitched together there. So I'm going to cut out this piece here so that these can go together, and then I'm going to have a cutout here so that water won't collect in the bottom of it. So there you can see it there. So when it's all together like this, and these are stitched together, the knife sits in there like that. So here's my base, the basic come together of everything that holds the knife. Don't forget about this guy. Before you do any stitching on here, if you watch one of my videos, I stitched this all together and forgot about this. The reason is you need access to the inside. I need to now make my strap. So I know the strap goes here on this side. Is that I have to stitch it on here, bring it over and stitch it down, and that's my belt loop. So I've got my punch here, and I'm using my 6-prong punch because it just so happens to be the perfect fit for this. So now I'm going to line these up, my initial marks. So now I'm going to do a saddle stitch this onto there. I'm just going to snip these off a little bit off here and burn them and melt them in and seal them. And just push them in like that, and you can see there. And now I'm going this way down. Same thing again. Going to get my punch. So now I have my holes marked. Same thing again, going to go on the edges just as I did before. Don't forget, before I do that, to put that on. So now I have my belt loop with my dangler ring in it, and it'll sit on my belt like that. The next thing I got to do is punch the holes along here for my stitching. The trick of it is you have to make sure that you're going to line the holes up on both sides. So I'm starting at that corner. Here is another trick I learned. In order to keep your holes straight, I'm not going to line that one up and punch it. I'm actually going to come back 3, line it up on the line. That way you can make sure that you're keeping your holes straight. So now here you can see I've punched all the holes on the bottom, along here and up here. Now I can start stitching together. Once again, I paused and I did not restart again. So you kind of missed everything that I did. But here is the sheath. Now you can see the dangler with the ring and the cross stitching. I messed around with the knife a little bit more and darkened the ferrule of the vibro lock. The wood stain I used on it is really dark. does not match this color. Now, I like this color. It just doesn't match the knife. I would show you, but I've wrapped it already because what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go with a dark chocolate for the dye over this. It'll match the handle better. Test strip here and see if the dye will work. So you can see here, it goes over the dye. So that's a good thing. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dye the whole sheath this dark chocolate. I think it'll just match the knife better. So I'm going to give it a good soaking, which means that this is going to be really wet and a little soft. So because of that, I'm going to put this in here and it'll help shape the sheath to the knife, the actual handle. Can't believe how this leather just soaks this up. I also darkened this a lot more. Hopefully you can see that. I made it a lot darker. Well, had to go to work. Let's check it out and see what happened. I've done a couple of things. I made some changes like I told you. So let's put it together and have a look-see. So here it is here. And you can see how dark it got. Okay, it's a way darker. And I think I prefer that for this knife. That it all matches up. And here you can see how dark it is. So I'm just going to put it on here quickly. An easy way. And here you can see how I darkened up the steel, the stainless, just by heating it up. I also fixed this up a little bit better. I liked it a little bit more darker and then going to the light. And you can see it there, here. Like I said, I kept the nail nick. So I did read about how to patina carbon. I tried something, and I don't know if you can see it on here. Let me get closer. You can see a slight patina there. Not very much, but it is there. And I didn't have any real vinegar. I just had some cooking vinegar and some mustard, and I put it in there. And it actually did patina it, not the way I wanted it to, but it does work. So there's a plus. You can still see the Opinel on there, barely. And here's the sheath, and you can see it has the dangler on it with the ring, and then your belt clip or strap here. So you can just put it on your belt just like that, or dangle it. So you can see the cross stitch instead of the usual baseball stitch that I do. Kind of hard to see. And let's see if it fits in here. This is not finished. I need to clean up the edges on everything by using this burnishing gum. And I'll do that quickly. Now, where I stitched is where I want the blade to be. I've always done that. And you can see it goes in there. And it matches nicely. I like that idea. Will it come out? Nope. But you never know. You don't want to lose your knife, so I always like to have a dangler. Burnishing on quickly and you'll see the difference. Need some coffee first. And I'm going to use my burnishing tool, and what I'm talking about is this guy here. And you said it has these little things which give you different sizes to rub on. And what I'm actually going to do is burnish the top here. Hopefully you can see it. It's still fairly rough. And the edges of everything. And it just helps protect it, and it gives it a cleaner finished look. So what I'm going to do is just put some of this on all the edges. They recommend you let it stand for a couple of minutes to get soaked in. And all you can see, I'm just putting it on the exposed edges that aren't nice and smooth and clean, all along the edges here. And on the bottom hole there, you can see it's a little rough. Let it sit and soak for a minute. Okay, it's been sitting for a couple of minutes and you can see it kind of soaked in a lot of the places. Now I've seen people use beeswax. It works just fine. It's, you know, whatever you want to use. I saw this gum online. It had good reviews, so I got it. It's this stuff here. Tokonole, something like that. And it's burnishing gum. So rub-a-dub-dub. See how it's shiny and it's rounded it off? It really cleans up the leather. Over here, let me see if I can show you. You can see how there's sharp edges and things on it, and they tend to get furry. I like to rub it in here. Also, while I'm doing it, I tend to widen this out so that it curves out. And now you can see how it cleans it up. And you can see I widened it on the top here, so that when you put your knife in, it's a little easier to get it in, just like that. The leather gets really hard and you want to keep it somewhat supple. Now I use Neatsfoot, which is, I'm not sure what it's used for, but it's a leather product and it just keeps your leather a little bit more supple so it won't crack. So this is what I'm talking about, and this is Fireberg's Prime Neatsfoot Oil Compound, and you use it to preserve leather. Rub it in and you can see there it gives it a nice little sheen and keeps it preserved for you. The knife in there, you can see it there. Let me try it on. So I have my Opinel number 8 on here. This is a factory sheath. I bought it online, paid way too much for it. Cost me more than the actual knife cost. I want to show you something about carbon. Look how that natural patina. That's just from me using it at work. Get that off and, oh, it's Friday. This is my Opie that I've been carrying for a couple of weeks at work and just everyday carry. Time to change it up. Going with this guy. And this is a sheath I made that is basically the same sort of idea, except it's not a dangler, although you could put a loop on there and make it into a dangler. But this is really a neck carry. This guy, one of my favorite Rough Riders, is a Sodbuster style lockback. Beautiful wood on it, very nice knife. That'll be my EDC for the day, for the days to come, till I get bored and decide to change it. So there you go. My sheath for my cotton sampler. I like the way this came out. I kind of like this. It's such a fun project to do, about 2 days, including the knife, which is a number 9. You can see it there. Experimented a bit with it. Tried out some patina. Can you see it there? That was just a test using what I had in the kitchen. Vinegar and mustard is what I used, and I just dipped it for about 10 minutes. Left it on there and wiped it off. Just over time, it'll develop its own natural patina. And you can see the differences. Because when I made the sheath, I wanted it to match, and there you can see a much better match than I had before with the English tan. And you can see the stitching. So there you go, another fun project, monsterizing Opinels, one of my favorite things to do. I'm sure Opinel is horrified. I always have my originals. Don't forget. Like, share, subscribe. You know the story. Pretty sure I'll be back. Got some other stuff coming in. working on the forge. That's going to be exciting. That's going to take some work. I need to learn a lot. I've got to go and see a buddy. Hopefully he will teach me how to do this. My hammer came in. I have some tongs, and I have the forge. All I need now is a fire and an anvil. The anvil's on its way. You all be safe out there, especially with these sharp and shinies and fire and things. You know, the outdoors is not something to take lightly. Always be safe. Just saying. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.